See how ready you really are.
All right, I am ready to go. Everybody, welcome back to the New York Mets podcast. As we always do, we must update you on the New York Metropolitans, the best team in baseball, and they have not started playing yet. But they're about to throw opening pitch.
Good update.
Yeah. For anybody wondering, there's only one team that's won every series that they've played in so far, and that is the New York Mets, because they're elite.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I mean, facts, right? But anyways, we're going to go back to other stuff. It is Season 3, Episode 25 of the Designated Players Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming for another episode, Episode 101. Pretty exciting stuff. Connor, how you doing?
I'm doing great seeing that you're using fractions on the board. I like it.
Man, I was going to throw it into a decimal form, get real sneaky.
Fractions are more fun.
Fractions are fun. I will give you that.
There goes half the people think.
You got people screaming in the chat. Hey, it is quarter season roundup time. We are just about one quarter of the way through the season already. I know, it's crazy. Are we though? Yeah, I guess we are, right? 9 games?
For some 9 games. I think apparently Seattle's only played 7.
Well, yeah, because they're in this thing called the CCL final, which kicks off tomorrow as we are recording this. 2-2 going into the final game. Is this the year? Let's take a little sidebar. Is this the year?
Yeah, of course it's the year.
Man, I hate believing in things because as a Met and Jet fan for the last 25 years, I've learned that belief gets you in trouble.
That's true.
But man, I it's gotta be, right? It's just gotta be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is, right?
They're fully healthy. They came back. They got the luck of CONCACAF on their side with a 99th minute penalty. They got 2 penalties in that game, and one of them was the 99th minute. The
stars are aligning. I mean,
it's gotta be, right? They're, like I said, they lined up with the strongest team they possibly could last week. Roldan, Yamar, Arriaga, Tolo, Rusnak, Joao Paulo, Lodero, Roldan, Morris, and Rui Diaz. This is the team that we were like, oh my God, how are they going to fit all these players on the field at the same time? They found a way to do it. Now it's a matter of, can they close it out? Can they keep Dynamo on wraps? Can they figure out how to stop him? Can they find a way to exploit some of the players in the back line? Talavera is like 1 billion years old, so can we beat him? But old Mexican goalkeepers seem to always have our number, so
that's on the international scale. It's different here.
That's facts. But I gotta say, I think this is the year. I can't wait for tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's another 10 p.m. kickoff for the final of a Champions League game. I mean, like, let's grow football in the Americas, guys. All right, biggest international game a club team can possibly play outside the Club World Cup for this region. When are we going to kick it off? 10 p.m.? Yes.
Could you imagine they did that as like for England? Or I guess it wouldn't make sense.
Could you imagine Liverpool versus City kicking off at 10 p.m. European time for the final of a Champions League? The world would explode.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Give me Alexi Lalas in the corner. Not Alexi Lalas, Taylor Twellman. What are we doing?
Give me Alexi Lalas and Taylor Twellman.
Both of them, but not so much. We are going to dive into quarter round wrap up. We've got a few questions. We're going to categorize some teams. We're going to talk about a lot of really good things, a lot of not so good things that have gone on in the year. But before we do any of that, it's time for a little scarf of the week.
Of course.
There's only 2 teams in history that have started off their year 5-0 on the road. I've got the scarf of one of them, my New York Red Bulls, setting history, like history making, right? When's our next away game, actually?
Doesn't that mean that you're winless at home, though?
Shh. Nobody asked you, Connor. Our next
Hey,
one
I
is
didn't
away-
bring it up. You
Oh
did.
wait, no, that's DC. That's Open Cup. Our next one's away at Philly. Ooh, that'll be tough, but we can do it, I believe. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on to the episode. But who you rocking?
In honor of their brand new stadium,
Oh yeah,
I've got the Nashville scarf.
I'm with you. I still have all my scarves from episode 100, by the way, still sitting here, so I could pull anything that I need.
You
By the
should
way,
pull
have
out
you
a
checked
scarf
out
for
episode
each.
100 yet?
Have
Oh,
I
you
what?
have it.
Have I
Oh,
what?
You should go check that out.
I was there. I don't have to check it out.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the listeners. The listeners need to go check out episode 100, where we featured all of our former guests. Well, almost all of them. And they asked us some questions. We did a little Q&A. It was tons of fun, lots of reminiscing. We even brought back a special guest. You can figure it out when you go listen to the episode. All right, Connor, you overrode my idea for this episode. This episode, we were going to talk strictly about RSL's rise to glory, Red Bull 5 in a row on the road, and what in the heck is going on in Vancouver. But Connor was like, let's do a quarter season roundup.
We can talk about all three of those things in the quarter season roundup.
So Connor is going to take over this one, and I'm going to sit here and answer his questions. Connor?
All right.
I am giving you permission to take it away, as this is still my podcast.
Yeah, sure. So we got 3 questions here that we're going to cover for each team. We're going to try to go through all 28, which is why we limited it to 3 questions per team. And you could bring up whatever information you want, bring it up at any point during the 3 questions, but your ultimate goal is to stay on track and answer the 3 questions. I know that's tough for you, but that's your goal, because we have 28 teams to go through, and Don Garber wants our podcast to be 2 hours long. All right. I figure, since we almost never start with the West, why don't we start with the Western Conference? And we're going to go bottom of the table to the top. So that kicks it off with one of the points that you wanted to start with.
That's awesome.
Vancouver Whitecaps. Safe to say this is a pretty easy first question, but have they been underperforming or overperforming your beginning of the season expectations?
Do we have the predictions still?
I'll pull it up if you want to talk through.
Yeah, pull it up and send me the link so I can open it. I don't think they're underperforming or overperforming. I think I pretty much predicted them to be bottom, didn't I? No, they're underperforming. We thought Vancouver was going to be not great, but not awful.
Yeah, I think we had like San Jose last.
Yeah. Underperforming, right? So it's kind of heartbreaking to see a team with the GOAT and Ryan Gauld all on the same team not doing as well as they should. But this is definitely an underperforming team. And we joked about it on our first episode when we did like way too quick coaches on the hot seat. And I made the joke that one of them was Vinny, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. Vancouver Whitecaps manager. Vinny Sartini. I made that joke. I'm like, oh, it's his first game and he lost 4-0. He has been, it has just not been a good couple of weeks for him. He has really struggled. And I watched a little bit of Vancouver in the beginning. I didn't watch a ton of them, I'll be honest, because goodness me, I can't bear myself to watch teams like that.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Right. But he has definitely underperformed what this team was last year. Coming off of that great run to the playoffs, finally sneaking in after however many years of missing out, just to come back and be right back at the bottom. Not a good look. I will say underperforming.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the standings right now, but I think it's pretty fair for me to also agree with underperforming. I definitely had them. I had them as my bold prediction to make the playoffs last year, which they did. They just snuck in. And I thought they would take a step back this year. I didn't like that they sold Crépeau. Not that Hasal isn't capable for them. I just don't think he's at the level of Crépeau at the moment. So that was obviously going to be a step down. And I don't think that they did much to improve the team. And I think a lot of last season was carrying off of momentum. So I kind of figured the offseason would cool that momentum and they would go into this year and start to feel, the effects of really like how strong this roster looks on paper. And honestly, I think even they've underperformed even to that level. I don't think that this team on paper looks nearly as bad as they've been so far this season. I mean, they are dead last in the entire league, and it's not even like a tie. Like they are solely in dead last. And I pulled up there who scored to go to kind of cover the question that's coming up next, but there's not a single player on this team that has averaged a 6.8 rating this season. Not a single person, not even for one game. The highest rating on this team is a 6.79 so far this season. So that kind of sums it up for you. Definitely an underperforming season for Vancouver so far.
I did find it. We posted it on Instagram. You had Vancouver 12th out of 14. I had them 10th. So we both predicted them to not make the playoffs, which fair.
Yeah.
But that is way worse than we thought, I believe.
Yeah, agreed. Now, a lot of bad with this team. However, in your opinion, who's been their best player so far this season?
Oh gosh, what an awful question.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure.
This isn't fair for teams like this. It's just mean. You can go first on that one.
Okay.
I am not prepared for that.
I am going to go with Ryan Gauld. I still think despite the rough season this year, he's been pretty decent for them. There's obviously some of the guys that were hot for them last year, like Brian White, hasn't gotten a lot of game time. He's only got, I think, 354 minutes so far this season. So, he's been in and out of the lineup. Tough to get form right now. Dejome, Caicedo have been a bit slow so far this year. You could make the argument maybe Lucas Cavallini could be your best player, even Tristan Blackman, as much as it pains me to say that because I dunked on him the entire year, or the entire offseason, I should say. But I think Ryan Gauld is still their creative playmaker in the middle. And I still think I've seen enough from him that if they can get healthy, get some good players around him, could still be the key guy for Vancouver this season. So I'll go with Gauld.
Man, this is such a bad question, and I hate this.
You got to pick somebody.
Give me Lucas Cavallini.
That's fine.
The guy leading the line, doing the best of a bad situation. Listen, there is not a good player on this team right now. I just want to point that out.
Yes, agreed.
There are okay players on a very bad team. But if you're telling me I need to pick one of these players that isn't Ryan Gauld to be a quote unquote best player, give me the guy with 1 goal in 500 minutes. Screw it. Give me Brian White, 1 goal in 350 minutes. Yep. Right to my veins.
To pick Brian White, huh?
Brian White it is.
All right. Well, can't argue with you there. All right. Let's wrap up Vancouver. I'm sure you don't want to stay on this one any longer.
Please.
Biggest surprise so far this season. And that could cover anything. It could be a certain player. It could be something that happened with the team. It could be their result in the competition.
I'm just going to go with the slow start. After coming off of such a hot 2021, starting this slow was not something I expected, even with the new coach and all that stuff. Yeah, slow start for me was just really shocking.
I'm going to go with a player one on this case. Jake Nerwinski has had a brutal season so far. Maybe I'm being too harsh just looking at the numbers, and Vancouver fans can correct me if I'm wrong. But he has basically 400 minutes so far this season, and he has the second lowest rating on the entire team. Usually if you look at who scored, it's typically the guys that get a lot of sub appearances that are towards the bottom. They get a lot of like 6.0 ratings just from being on the field for a short amount of time. However, he's played 5 games so far, started all of them, and has an average rating below 6. And he's a guy that I think at the start of the season we looked at and was like, this is probably their best defender in the back line. At least definitely better than Youngworth, probably better than Tristan Blackman at the start of the season. And to see him struggle as he has this season has been definitely surprising for me.
We need to speed this up if we're going to cut this where it's supposed to.
All right, fine. We can speed it up.
Next.
San Jose. Underperforming or overperforming?
Equal, right where they're supposed to be. Bottom, garbage, terrible.
Yes, agreed. Despite the fact that we both had them in last place, I think second to last place.
That's right. Vancouver's ready to go.
Yeah, I still think Vancouver can jump them before the season's over. Best player for them so far?
Jabo, baby. 5 goals in 750 minutes, tied to the Golden Boot or top of the Golden Boot race. Jabo's been absolutely the only reason they've been semi-relevant.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to pick Abobasi as well. 5 goals is completely what I did not expect to see from him this season. It's looking like that move from Portland's finally starting to pay off for him. All right, biggest surprise.
That Jackson Ewell's still freaking playing center back.
That's what I was going to say too. I didn't think you were going to pick that one.
Well, so I think he's been moved out now. I think they've finally gotten away from the whole Jackson Ewell at center back thing for the most part. But I'll rephrase it and make it that I can't believe that Jackson Ewell even tried to play center back.
Yes, I completely agree.
That's probably the better way to put it. He's got 3 appearances at center back.
Why?
Done. Over. I'm not doing this.
Hopefully the new manager doesn't put him back there. Whoever it is. All right. San Jose, nice and quick. Next up, Seattle Sounders. Now, keep in mind, the only reason they are up right now is because they have about 2 or 3 games in hand on everybody else. So fully expect them to move up the table soon. But at the moment, they are sitting in 12th. So overperforming or underperforming? I feel like this one's pretty easy.
Okay. Obviously, they're underperforming in league, but they are given a pass for the fact that they're playing for a CONCACAF Champions League title on Thursday. So
yes,
they get a pass.
In this league, you could turn your season around like that. Just like one quarter of the season, it could be the last one. You start firing off, you will fly up the standings. I mean, I fully can see Seattle storming right back and winning the Western Conference. Well, maybe not winning. LAFC is pretty strong, but at least competing for top of the Western Conference. So, yeah, underperforming at the moment, but I would say not likely to keep underperforming. Best player so far. What you got?
Another tough one. Give me João Paulo. I think João Paulo's been running. So I'm going mainly off of performances in CCL. I'm sure we should probably focus more on
the
league, but because the majority of what we care about for this team is in CCL, João Paulo's absolutely run the show every single time that he's been in the game, for every matchup they've been in. So I'm going with João Paulo.
I was also going to go with João Paulo because you picked him. I'll go Nick Ladero. At least from a league perspective, he's got 1 goal and 3 assists so far in less than 200 minutes. So yes, he's not playing a ton. I wouldn't expect him to play like full 90s every single game anymore. He's definitely getting up there in age. But when he's out on the field, he is making a difference. Not that that's surprising to me. He's one of the best, most talented players in the league. All right.
For sure.
Last thing, biggest surprise. What you got?
The vast disparity between how well they're doing in CCL versus the fact that they can't knock off like Inter Miami.
How about San Jose?
Or
They lost to San
Jose.
Jose.
Yeah. Just the fact that they are absolutely killing it in CCL. Now, granted, they are rotating massively for these MLS games. And if you go back to the San Jose game, actually, the San Jose game was pretty much a full strength outside of Reagan in the back. But I think it was the Inter Miami game where they rotated basically every single player after the NYCFC game. Yeah, they had Arriaga start, and that's literally it. Everybody else was a sub. So I give them a little bit of a break, but.
So I'm going to go with a player on this one again. Obed Vargas this year. Totally did not expect him to be anywhere in the picture at the start of the season. And he's got 400 minutes right now in the league and playing half. He's playing pretty well too. So I honestly, if I had to pick a youngster that I thought would break through in this team this season, I would have said Reed Baker Whiting. However, he's only played 90 minutes so far this season versus Vargas getting 400. So totally did not expect to see that this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's made such a splash. And I know people were talking about him, but I still can't believe he's 16 years old.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
16. He was born in 2006 then.
Stop.
Oh, actually, he was born in 2005. His birthday's in 6 days. So happy birthday, Obed Vargas.
Because we know he's listening to the podcast.
Of course he is. Yes. All right, next up. If I can find my page. Is Sporting Kansas City.
Oh, this is easy.
All right, kick it off. Mr.
Sporting
Easy.
Kansas City, the single most underperforming team in the entire league right now. That's it.
That's it.
Full stop. I mean, what the hell? This team was top of the West, or damn near top of the West 6 months ago. One injury, and now they can't even score a goal. Ooh.
I think they have more than one injury. They're missing Pulido, Gotti Kinda's out.
Okay, 2 injuries, and then missing the number 5 center back in the league from last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah, underperforming, that's for sure. I think we both had them 4th in our predictions at the start of the season, and they are currently in 11th. So, yeah, pretty easy to say underperforming so far. But their best player, who's it been?
35-year-old Graham Zusi playing his way to Qatar. Thank you very much.
Stop it. I'm gonna kick you.
I think I'll probably go Remy Walter. Played every minute of every game so far, 2 goals, pulling the string, 90% pass completion rate. Filling in for probably a role he probably isn't ready to play, with Gotti Kinda being out, but not doing a terrible job at it.
I'm gonna go with Fontas on this one. Despite the fact that Russell and Shallowy have better ratings, I don't know. I still think the two of them have been a bit disappointing this season, especially with what they were able to do last season. Hopefully, for SKC's sake, I hope they start getting it going. But otherwise, I would say Walter or Fontas. But since you picked Walter, I'll go Fontas. How about biggest surprise? What's been the biggest surprise so far?
I mean, we kind of talked about it already, but the fact that this team was competing for the top spot in the West last year, and even the lack of ability to play from Kyrie Shelton has shocked me a lot, right? Like, this isn't a guy who's, 19 years old and playing in his first professional season. I mean, the dude spent time in Germany. He's a veteran in the league. He should
Yeah.
be able to put the ball away. I mean, just looking at his history and the way that he's played, he's never really been a great goal scorer, right? But that's because he's usually been a winger. You would think that they'd bring somebody in, but even then, right? You'd think that he would have figured out something playing up top, but just hasn't been. So him and their lack of ability to create much going forward for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this one.
You're
But
wrong.
I'm gonna say my biggest surprise has been Tim Melia, because he has been. I get it. He's getting up there in age. He's 35 at this point, but I didn't expect him to like fall off as much as he has at the start of this season. I mean, he has had a rough year so far, and
He's been really bad.
yeah, it's surprising because he's a staple in this league in terms of goalkeepers. He's been consistently good almost every single season. It's just it's a little surprising to see him take this giant leap down. I mean, I would say people would expect it that he would like eventually, kind of decline as he gets older, but it just feels like it was much bigger than many probably thought.
So I'm looking at just the goalkeeper stats, in general. And oh man, the disrespect. Joe Willis is the only goalkeeper without a picture.
What are you looking at?
MLS.com. The disrespect.
How does Joe Willis not have a picture at this point? He's
mean,
been in the league his whole career.
Tim Melia currently is boasting the league's worst save percentage at 52.9.
Wow.
Actually, he's tied with Earl Edwards Jr., but has played 5 more games. It's just been he just doesn't keep the ball to the net. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I wanted to check my like go-to goalkeeper stat. I want to see if the defense is just hanging him out to dry, but it doesn't look like it. He's got the second worst rating in that stat in the league. So
Yep.
Rough season for him so far. He's gonna need to turn it around if the team is gonna turn it around.
Correct.
All right. On to the next one. We've got the Portland Timbers. Underperforming or overperforming?
I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
I think they're underperforming for me. So I had them 5th in my standings predictions. So it's not a terribly big drop, but 5 spots is pretty decent. I just feel like they've been struggling this season. I think it's mainly to do with their. I would say it's a combination of their attack and their defense. I think it's a bit of both without like being on the extreme end for either. I can't. I don't know. I would have expected more from them, seeing as how they didn't. I don't think the team changed a ton from the team that was in MLS Cup final.
Yeah, definitely underperforming. New goalkeeper in the back, but other than that, like you said, I give them a little bit of a break. We talked about this early in the season, but for a long time they were on center backs 3 and 4 on their depth chart, waiting for them to come back from injury. So I give them a pass there, and I expect them to step up, but definitely underperforming for what the team was expected to be.
All right, best player.
Give me Bill Tuiloma. Coming in, as we mentioned just 30 seconds ago, about center backs 3 and 4. He really was the guy that they turned to. Also nabbed 2 goals in attack, but mainly his defensive contributions are what gets me. He was winning a lot of headers. He was sticking a lot of tackles, things that you expect your center backs to do. So I'm going to go with Bill Tuiloma.
Sure, just go ahead and take who I was going to pick. But that's fine.
I gave you the option first.
I was being kind, and that's how you repay me. All right, I'll just say standard Yimi Chara. I think I wanted to go Bill Tuiloma. You took it. So what do you want me to do about it?
You could talk about how Claudio Bravo makes 5.3 tackles a game.
He's been pretty good this season, but he hasn't been on the same level as he was last year. So I know he could be better. So it's a little tough for me to go with him as best player. But how about your biggest surprise this year for the
Sorry,
Timbers?
I just want to point out that he makes 5.3 tackles a game. The next closest person is Yuya Kubo making 4.3 for Cincinnati
Yes.
in the center of midfield.
No wonder he was changed to a defensive mid.
He's just running around.
Cincy, 200 IQ move from Cincy.
Biggest surprise for me, and I'm going to go back to the center back thing, is their ability to survive and stay afloat on center backs 3 and 4. I don't think a lot of teams would be able to go that deep into their depth chart and survive. I mean, you think of what center back 3 and 4 on those people's roster is. It's usually a draft pick and a USL kid. So to be able to go down to Bill Tuiloma, Zach McGraw, and have them both really perform well was definitely a surprise to me.
Well, I mean, can you say that they have survived? I mean, I guess survived. You could say that, but it's not like they've done well. Not to
They're
say
they're 1 win out of 6th place.
well, they're currently sitting in 10th, and they have a game up on most people.
All right, here's what I'm saying. If you told Atlanta to go play with center backs 3 and 4 right now, you guys would be probably down with Cincinnati.
Well, I mean, we're playing with our 3rd and 4th option in like most positions, so
Exactly, and you guys are surviving. You guys aren't. You guys
I don't know
aren't
if I'd say we're surviving. We lost 3 of our last 4.
survive.
All right. Anyway, so I don't know. It's tough to pick a surprise for me. I'd say their performance so far this year. Actually, I'll say their striker position has been a bit surprising for me.
Good or bad?
They had, I would say, bad. I feel like they had a lot of. At one point, they had a ton of options at striker because they had Nies Goda, they had Mora, and they had Abobasi. Abobasi's obviously gone. I don't even see Mora on here. Did Mora leave?
I think Mora got hurt.
He got hurt? Okay. So then Nies Goda comes in, and he's got 2 goals so far in 750 minutes. I don't know. It's not the best pick for surprise. I don't really have a big surprise on this team, to be honest. But I guess I would say the striker position, how it once went from like overflowing talent to kind of like your only option.
Okay.
All right, next up, we've got Nashville.
Easy.
I'm rating Mr. Easy.
Underperforming. This team is supposed to be top of the West, and they're supposed to give up 0 goals a game, and they're 9th.
Yeah, it's so weird. We watched the first game against Seattle, and I'm pretty sure both of us were like, I don't know how anybody's scoring against this team all year. And like they haven't been bad defensively. They've probably been about average. But it's still surprising. I mean, they can't score goals. That's their biggest problem.
Yeah, I mean they've given up 10.
Yeah, which is
9.
fine. I mean, I expected them to give up less than 10, but 10 is, it's not bad.
No,
But
they're right about as even as Charlotte right now.
Yeah, but scoring 9 is a problem. However, who do you think their best player has been?
I mean, obviously it's Hani Mukhtar, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Guy who creates everything all the time is the face of that team and kind of the face of the league, really.
I don't know if I'd go as far to say face of the league, but
Well, that's
face
because
of
you're
the
a
team for
hater.
sure.
That's because you're a hater.
Or I think he should have been MVP last season.
You and me both.
But I think Vela is more like a face of the league than Hani Mukhtar. Pretty sure most people don't know who Hani Mukhtar is. Yeah, he's my pick for for best player as well. But what's been your biggest surprise so far?
I'm gonna go with their lack of attack. And this kind of just comes back from the whole thing about what we were talking about, how they needed a striker. And they went out and got CJ last year, and he was great. And we're like, okay, they're probably going to need somebody to help him out next season. So they went out and they got Ake Loba, Teal Bunbury, Ethan Zubak, and they all four of them combined have 2 goals, and they both come from CJ Sapong. So we talked about how there's going to be this pressure on Gary Smith of having so much depth that it might actually hurt him in the end. And I think he's kind of realizing that he's got to be quicker to pull certain people to get the results that he needs. And as I said, I think it's not necessarily surprising, kind of like you with Portland, but yeah, that's just something that stood out to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the depth underperforming has been surprising for me. Because this is the second time now that we've watched a team look super deep on paper at the start of the season and not be able to perform. I mean, it's a little odd. I don't really understand it, but it's yeah, it's surprising. You would think the next man up should be able to step right in and be able to, perform at a good level and keep this team rolling, but have yet to see it so far.
That's because real life is not FIFA or Football Manager, Connor.
Sure. You keep thinking that. All right, on to the next one. Let's try to speed things up. Colorado Rapids sitting in 8th right now.
Right where they're supposed to be.
Yep, you had them in 7th. I have them in 8th. So pretty
Yep.
spot on for both of us.
That we are.
Who's their best player though?
Jordan? No.
Jordan? Yeah.
No. Give me Diego Rubio. Diego Rubio. I mean, we talked about it. What was it? Week 1? Week 2, maybe? Where Colorado tried to play with Jordan Lewis as a false 9, had 0 attacking output. And the only reason that they've been relatively decent is Diego Rubio is putting up MLS MVP type expected goals numbers, according to oh gosh, I can't remember who tweeted it, but somebody put out that mark that his expected goals contribution is up there with like David Villa and BWP, like way back when they were winning, in competition for MVPs. So he is putting out numbers that are unbelievable for a person coming out of Colorado. No disrespect, Rapid fans, but
all right. Yeah, I was gonna pick him also, but for the sake of something different, I'll pick Mark Anthony Kaye. 3 goals so far this year, seems to be finding his LAFC form again. Really helping out in the middle of the field for Colorado this season. What's been your biggest surprise so far? I think I got a good one for this. If you want me to go first.
Go first. Go right ahead.
I think the biggest surprise for me was them getting knocked out in the first round of the CONCACAF Champions League. Because I feel like this team is, I mean, I think you and I can both agree, this team is better than them getting knocked out in the first round of the Champions League. I don't think this team was capable of doing what Seattle did, or even like NYC. I don't see them as a semifinalist, but I think this team was strong enough to have gotten out of the first round, especially seeing as how they were top of the Western Conference last season. So seeing them lose that early was a pretty big surprise.
I'm not shocked. Sorry. I'm going to just stop you there. I'm not. It doesn't shock me in the slightest. We knew this team was not as good as what they were last year, that we knew that first place was lucky, but I'm not surprised. For me, the contribution of Max Alves, who I picked to be like in the running for newcomer of the year. He is the second worst rated player, has only put 200 minutes onto the field, has 0 goal contributions, and it's just been overall bad. So kind of shocking.
I'm sure he just needs some adjustment period. All right, on to the next one. And we're talking Houston Dynamo, currently in 7th.
They're not first, so they are
Underperforming.
I mean, yeah, that's where they belong, right?
It's not what you're
What did I
saying.
have?
That's what it should say.
I had them 11. You had them 10. This is an overperforming team if I've ever seen one. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Overperforming, period. With the team.
Yes, agreed on overperforming. It's been a strong start to the season for them. Who would you say has been the driving force behind that? Who's their best player?
I mean, this one's easy, right? It's Sebastian Ferreira.
Is it easy? I wouldn't say it's so easy.
Oh my God. Go ahead, pick Darwin Quintero, because I know
I will pick Darwin Quintero.
Because I know that Adam's not here. You need to give him his heads up. But listen, if Sebastian Ferreira isn't here, Darwin Quintero is the only person they have to worry about. He's not scoring what he's scoring. Sebastian Ferreira has made a world of difference for this team, not in the goal contributions, but in the way that he plays and stretches the defense and opens them wide and creates the lanes that he needs to. It's a deep thought pick. It's not oh, look, Darwin's got more goals in less minutes. He's better. Go ahead, hit me with that. I dare you.
I'm just gonna pick Darwin anyway. I think Darwin has done a lot outside of just goals and assists per however many minutes he's played. I mean, that definitely is helpful. He's got 4 goals on the year, but I think he's a very influential player in the attack and helps. I mean, I agree with you. It helps to have Herrera there because now defenses have to split their attention between the two. Because if you just neglect one, they're going to burn you. So I think it's fair to, give credit to both of them this season. What's been your biggest surprise?
The fact that you picked Darwin Quintero over Sebastian Ferreira for player of the quarter.
But you picked Ferreira. I can't pick him. What do you want me to do? Unless it's blatantly obvious, I'm gonna try to pick someone different. What's your biggest surprise? Come on, hit me with something good.
I think I'm gonna go with Carrasquilla, the defensive mid out of Panama. He only had 1 appearance last year, and we didn't really know much about him. So we weren't sure he was even going to feature. To be fair, we didn't even know he got picked up. I didn't know he was on the team for however long. So we thought he was just going to get dropped. But he's featured in 9 games now and no goals, no assists. But as a defensive mid, he's probably been one of the main driving forces as to why they've been as good as they are. Him and Vera in a double pivot have been really nice together. So I'll go with that.
I think mine might be a bit more under the radar, a little bit harsh too, but the decline of Memo Rodriguez has been a surprise to me. I feel like at one point in time, and granted, it wasn't a good Houston team, but I feel like at one point in time, he was the face of this Houston team. And
sure, back when Houston were the bottom of the West.
Yeah, but still, you would think a guy, even at that point, who was the face of the team would still be like a pretty consistent contributor. But at this point, it seems like he's more just a substitute. I mean, he's got more sub appearances than he does starts this season. He's got less than 400 minutes.
Yep.
And at this point, he's not breaking into that attack he's the 5th option guy in the attack at this point. You got Fafa Pico, Darwin Quintero, Ferreira, and Tyler Pasher probably all ahead of him. So I think it's expected if you look at who's on the team, but I just didn't expect it to happen so quickly. I think he needs to trade away somewhere else. Maybe like an FCC or something. I don't know, where he can get game time.
Why is FCC always your go-to?
It's not always my go-to. That's not where I said Zarda should be traded. All right, let's move on. It's your favorite team up now. It's Loon time.
Oh God, what's up?
Go on, tell me about how they're underperforming so you could piss off all the Minnesota fans.
What do you mean? If I wanted to piss them off, I'd tell them the truth, and it's that they're overperforming. 6th place for a team that should be in the bottom of the West.
You're awful.
No, they're right about where I expect them to be, competing for on the bubble, competing for the playoffs. They're within a game. Again, it's early, right? But they're right about in a game of that playoff line. That's right about where I expected them to be.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing for me. I had them sixth, so pretty spot on for them this season. Who's been their best player?
Me. I've fueled them with hatred.
You fuel the fans with hatred.
Yeah, and the fans then put that energy onto the field and back their players like Everton did when they beat Chelsea this weekend.
Hilarious. Guess who's still in the relegation zone?
Go! This one's easy. Dane Sinclair. My boy Dwayne has been an absolute monster in goal. He was able to make a few saves against Red Bull or whatever when we lost to them at home. But, we talked about how it was him and Tyler Miller were going to go at it, and whoever was just the hottest hand is going to take it. He was the hot hand. He hasn't gotten cold. Dane Sinclair to the moon.
Yeah, that's their rotation. As soon as one guy gets hurt or is on international duty, other guy steps in and they keep it until that same rotation happens again. I'm going to say that their best player this season, I'm going to say Hassani Dotson. He has goal and 2 assists so far from a non-attacking position, I believe. I don't know where he's been playing the most this season. He's kind of like a, what do they call it? It's like a Swiss Army knife or something.
Sure.
Where he could just play all over the field.
He's got 4 at right back. He's got 3 at center mid.
Yeah, it looks like I see 3 at D mid and 4 at right back. So to have 3 goal contributions from defensive positions is pretty strong, and I'm sure he's contributing. I don't have exact numbers, but I'm sure he's contributing just as much on the defensive end of things for the team as well. Definitely a super underrated player in this league. Doesn't get talked about enough. So credit to Hassani Dotson. And biggest surprise, I'm going first with this one because I don't want you to steal mine, but I'm going with Unu. He's got 20 minutes so far this season. This dude was leading the line for them last year. He's got 20 minutes now. That's wild to me. I don't think he's been injured. He's got 4 sub appearances. So if he was only injured for a short time, but it's wild to me how quickly he just fell out of favor here. I mean, it didn't seem like he did anything to deserve it. He was pretty darn good for them last season. So it's a bit surprising.
I was going to go along those lines to say that Abu Damladi, who we said was the absolute worst transfer of the entire offseason, has more appearances and goals than he does. But I'll flip that over and go Franco Fragapane being the 4th worst rated player and the worst person with more starts than sub appearances in the team for a guy that we thought was supposed to be like a world beater and really should be with the team that's out in front of him. Just super underperforming. Very, very surprising.
Yeah. Imagine those guys start to get going. Those Minnesota teams are going to be dangerous.
Yeah, but that's a big if. That's the thing, man. Imagine if Red Bull ever lost away from home. Couldn't be me.
Imagine if Red Bull ever won at home.
No, this is going to be a reverse of the 2018 season where we don't win it, where we set ourselves up for failure. It'd be great.
All right. We don't have time for Red Bull tangents. We got to stay on track here. And we're going to quite possibly the biggest surprise all season, Real Salt Lake.
Man, what to say about Real Salt Lake?
Well, I could say we both had them 13th in our standings predictions.
So definitely overperforming. Pablo Mastroeni has done a heck of a job with this side. Listen, they are not backing down from anybody except New York City away and Northern Colorado Hailstorm at home. But other than that, this has been one heck of a team, man. They go up against some of the bigger. They definitely play up to their competition when they're ready to go. They have been just something crazy this year, beating the likes of Seattle Sounders, which we talked about, New England in the snow game, Nashville, then losing to Sporting, Kansas City. Tying Colorado, tying Toronto, losing to New York City, and losing to the Hailstorm, and then beating the Galaxy. So, I mean, they play up to their competition, but they'll also play down when they are either playing against USL one sides or playing on a baseball field. They will play down. But, man, I really like the way that Pablo Mastroeni has his team going. I think he's got him going in the right direction. I think he's going to be really successful with this side. We'll talk about some of their players in a second. He's gotten their players to be performing the way that he's been expecting. I just think that's super cool. And I'm really excited to see what else they can do. You've got everybody in and around the goals. It's a team. It's not like last few years where it was literally just Albert Rusnak and
Kralak.
It's a team now. It's a team effort. So keep on keeping on, Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, obviously overperforming. I'm going to go with a hot take here, though. I think by the time the season is done, they're going to be a lot closer to where we predicted them than where they are now.
Wow.
All right, best player. Who's been their best player so far?
This one's easy. Pablo Ruiz in
easy.
Like a million miles. I didn't read an article, but something that popped up about how he's having an MVP type season. I don't think he's at that level, but he is playing at such a high level for a team that hasn't seen a creator like that before, or in a long time, I should say. It's probably since Javimo. Mastroeni is asking him to play with more freedom, right? Let him go and create the game, go find the game, go create things, go make it happen. And he's doing that. You see, I mean, who scored ratings are a little subjective, but he's 0.21 better than anybody else on the team, which is massive in ratings like that. 1 goal, 2 assists, but key chances created are the big one. He gets two key passes a game, or 2 passes that set up goal scoring chances a game, which I'll double check real quick, but that's got to be tops. Some of the tops in the league behind probably Lucci, and maybe like Frankie Amaya. But yeah, he's definitely the best player.
Yeah, I am going to go Pablo Ruiz as well. This is one of
I'm
those.
sorry, full pause. People, I need people to know that I was kidding about Frankie Amaya. I need so I can already hear it. I was kidding about Frankie Amaya. Please stop.
I'm sure people, if anybody has listened to this enough, they know any Red Bull player mentioned is probably a joke.
No.
Pablo Ruiz is their best player. That's a given. Biggest surprise so far this season. I'll let you go first.
Mine was going to go back to our friend Damir Kralak and how little he's been involved. It's almost like you take Albert Rusnak away and he's just a guy. 12th best rated player at 33 years old, but he's got 1 goal in 300 minutes. I mean, this guy was Golden Boot caliber last year.
Yeah. My biggest surprise is a guy that's not even on this list. David Ochoa has not had a single minute of MLS play so far this season.
That's not a surprise. That dude's a snake. That's what you get, baby.
It's absolutely a surprise. He was one of the hottest goalkeeping prospects from his performance last season, and he's been completely benched by Zach McMath this year. I did not expect that in the slightest. Out of the blue. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm upset with it, but it definitely didn't expect that to happen. All right, on to the next one. FC Dallas.
Oh my God, underperforming. They're not even first.
Overperforming. They don't even have a team, and they're 4th.
I'm pretty sure I had them in the playoffs, didn't I? I had them 5th, so they're right where I expected them to be.
Yeah, you did. You had them 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say overperforming. I had them at 7. I think just making the playoffs, but they've been pretty strong this year. However, who's been their strongest player? I think this one should be pretty easy.
Yeah, I'll go with Jesus. You're going to go Jesus Ferreira. I'm going to go Alan Velasco. I like the way, for the same reason Sebastian Ferreira is better than Darwin Quintero. It's not in the goals and the assists. It's in the way that he creates space and opens the game up that has been a game changer for FC Dallas this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just pick the opposite person there.
Yep,
you
I
picked,
figured.
so we would have been fine either way. Biggest surprise so far. This one might be a little tough.
You can go first if you'd like.
This is a tough one. I think, we had some expectations that they'd be playing around this level. A part of me wants to say
I've got one.
All right, I'll let you go. All
right. I'm going to go Paxton Pomykal, supposedly being an attacking midfielder, having 0 goal contributions in 700 minutes. And people are asking for him to be on the plane to Qatar.
Yeah, they're wild.
Can we stop? Listen, maybe he gets on a Nations League team. But this guy's supposed to be a creative attacking player, and he's got 0 goal contributions in a team that's scoring for fun. You can't, that just can't happen. I don't think that he's obviously not at Jordy's level or anything like that. But man, oh man, does he need to get in amongst the goals, man. Go get yourself an opportunity. I mentioned this the other day or early on in the season when I watched Dallas a lot more than I probably should. But I laughed because I was like, oh, Paxton needs to be in Greg's team. And I laughed because he would fit in perfectly because he only passes the ball backwards. He's an attacking midfielder who only passes the ball backwards. I don't get it. So again, that's my big one.
Yeah, if you're taking Paxton over Jordy Mihailovic right now, you need to get some help.
I mean, I need some help anyway, but
no, you don't need help. You got it right. I guess, I'd say Alan Velasco has been a surprise for me. I think he hit the ground running way faster than I expected him to at 19 coming into a foreign league. That's definitely not easy. I mean, look at Max Alves. Obviously, he's been slow to get things started. And Velasco has just came in and lit the ground on fire immediately. So I would say his hot start so quickly has been surprising for me.
Nice.
All right. We are on to the top 3. And in third, we got the LA Galaxy. Greg Vanny's side, underperforming or overperforming?
Pretty easy. Looks like I've got this team overperforming. Just a little bit. We didn't think this team was even going to make the playoffs, so.
Yeah, that's not looking so good right now.
Not even a little bit.
All right, best player. Who's their best player?
Chicharito. 5 goals, little fox in the box, getting the dirty goals, doing his job.
I'm actually going to say Raheem Edwards has been their best player.
Raheem Edwards was the answer for my next one, so.
Okay, that's fair enough. But yeah, he's been phenomenal this season with the position change. And I'm not going to say too much because I'll let you touch on it in a minute. But yeah, he's been so good for them. So underrated. But you want to touch on him as your biggest surprise?
Oh, were you going to ask me a question, Mr. Moderator?
Yes. I shouldn't have to. That was a great transition point for you, and you missed it.
You going to ask me my question?
What's your biggest surprise?
I can't believe that Douglas Costa is as bad as he actually is. No, obviously it's Raheem Edwards, and his emergence as one of the best left backs in the league. We've talked about how he needs to be in the Canadian national team for the Nations League. If he isn't, we are boycotting all purchases of maple syrup and Canadian goods until he is invited into the national team camp. That's actually going into the Congress floor tomorrow. I put that in. So,
well, he's Canadian national team. It would be nicer if he was on American national team.
It would be.
He could challenge Anthony Robinson for a starting spot.
Jedi clear.
Not saying I disagree. All right, I will say my surprise has been Dejan Jevelic. He has, I mean, he's scored so far this season, but he's only played 80 minutes. I know he's probably not going to start ahead of Chicharito, but I figured he'd be more in the mix, and he's barely seen the field. And
He's got less minutes than Sasha Question.
I know, which is
That's
wild.
not good.
He hasn't been hurt. He's had 7 sub appearances, so he's been around. He's just not getting any game time.
It's just so weird to see somebody like that, who I'm pretty sure is like top. I mean, maybe not top 5 anymore, but in terms of market value and like what he would go for.
Yeah, and then just not getting any game time.
You got Alvarez at $6 million. Yeah, he's 3.85 million. He's even with
80 minutes. 3.85 million. He's got less minutes than Sasha Kljestan,
who is valued at just about 220,000. And again, market values are silly, but you've got a guy who you could probably sell right now for 5 million at age 22, and you're not even stepping him on the field, and you're still in third. That's pretty great. We talk about depth. That's pretty deep.
Yeah. It's pretty
your
good.
New York Mets update 2-0. Marcano with a home run.
I wouldn't expect nothing less from this team. One thing we didn't expect this season is the meteoric rise of Austin FC, currently in second place this season. This is probably the easiest question all night, but underperforming or overperforming?
That's pretty bad that they're not even in first place, I'll be honest with you. Obviously overperforming. Nobody predicted any of this to happen. I know that's your answer too, so I'll just transition right into best player on the team. It's Sebastian Joisi playing at an MVP level. Nobody would have expected said things. Unbelievable scenes from Sebastian Joisi and Austin FC.
The crazy thing is he's absolutely been the MVP so far this season, but the guys around him have been balling out too. Like, it's not even just like a one-man show. Like, these other players are stepping up big time. I mean, did you know Diego Fagundes had 6 assists so far this season?
I had to assume somebody was giving him the ball.
I didn't know it was Fagundes. I mean, he's leading the league in assists. It's pretty wild. But yeah, Joisi is their best player. That's a pretty easy one. Biggest surprise for you so far?
I mean, the team in general for me is, what's there to say that's less surprising than the fact that a team that we thought was going to be bottom of the table is one game off of being supporter shield leaders. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like the obvious one for this team. I want to see, since you went with that one, I'll go with a little bit of a different one, but Rodney Reyes for this team might as well not exist. I honestly thought he was going to be so much of a bigger part of this team when he was first signed. And last season, he was, stuck to the bench making sub appearances. And this season, arguably, it's even worse. I mean, he's got 45 minutes so far in, I think, nine games for them. There's no point in even keeping him around at this point. You might as well just get rid of him. All right, that was a quick one. Let's wrap things up with the Western Conference with LAFC, top of the Western Conference.
Right where we both expected them to be.
Yep.
It was pretty good on both of us.
I don't know how you expect any different when you look at this team on paper, because they are disgusting. Franco Escobar is the 12th highest rated player on LAFC. He would be the top rated player on Vancouver right now. That just shows you how deep this team is and how good they've been. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This honestly might be a tough question, but who's been their best player so far?
I'm so glad Adam is not here for this.
Ryan Hollingshead to the moon.
The answer is Illy Sanchez. Illy Sanchez has been the difference maker in this team. He is this team was missing a true number 6 for a while. And he slid into that role really, really well. He's allowed Kellen Acosta to do his job. Latif Blessing when he comes in. Because he's so reliable as a center defensive midfielder, he allows everybody else to do their job perfectly. He pulls the strings when he needs to. He sticks the tackles when he needs to. It doesn't always show up in the goal contributions, but he leads a team in interceptions. He's second in tackles. He actually going forward as well. He is. Whoop! That's the wrong button. Where'd he go? So he's got a goal as well, right? But he draws a foul a game. He gets half a dribble. He has a key pass every game. He's setting his teammates up for success. So, that is my pick.
Can't say I disagree with you. I am going to go with Ryan Hollingshead, however, for Adam's sake.
Is Adam reincarnated here? Darwin Quintero, Ryan Hollingshead. Jeez.
I didn't even think about that. Yes, I am living in the spirit of Adam right now.
I'm guessing that Colorado's best players, Jordan Lewis and Yordi Reyna for DC United, right?
It's Aaron Austin Trusty. Ali Adnan is still Vancouver's best player.
If Charlotte had a best player right now, it'd be Yordi Reyna.
I feel like I could pick anybody on this team, and you can make an argument for them being the best player. Like it's just this team is so well rounded. But I'm just gonna go with Hollingshead. He's got 3 goals from the fullback spot. He's their second leading scorer from defense. Defense for Ryan Hollingshead. He pretty much goes wherever he wants, but
the memes.
He's been very good for them. They've been good defensively as well. They've only conceded 8 so far this season. And if you're scoring more goals than your $15 million superstar designated player, wonder kid, then I think that's a pretty good sign for you. And I was referring to Brian Rodriguez for those who don't know.
All right. I think we need to make this a 2-part episode.
That's what you think.
We are an hour in. We only do hour episodes except for the 100th episode, which you guys still should go check out. Great episode.
That's fine. We still have to do our biggest surprise. Don't wrap up yet.
What biggest surprise? What do you mean? The biggest surprise is clearly that Christian Aranjo has the same amount of goals as Kasper Shabilko.
All right, so we're both bad at this. I don't know what to tell you. We both suck. Is that actually your biggest surprise?
Yeah, that Christian Aranjo has been basically non-existent because he's been kept off the field by Opoku. Who is the other one who keeps playing up top? I guess Carlos Vela is a false 9 and Ryan Hollingshead whenever he wants.
I was going to say Opoku has been the biggest surprise this year. I don't think people expected him to get game time, and he's pretty much like a consistent starter at this point and contributing a lot to the team. I feel like he's doing what they expected Corey Baird to do. But Corey Baird, well, actually, I'd say Corey Baird was pretty decent for them, but he's kind of filling that role, but obviously at a much younger age at only 20, but stepped up probably way more than people expected at the start of the season. Anyway, now you can wrap it up.
Now we can wrap it up. Sorry, I figured it was just so self-explanatory that the craziest thing was that your pick and my pick were so close together, and my pick was a very bold prediction and yours was a lock.
Listen, see, it's quarter of the way through the season. Season's not done yet.
You're right. Kasper can score 14 goals and take this thing home. Thanks everybody for watching episode 101 of the Designated Players Podcast. We will be back for episode 102 where we break down the quarter season wrap up for the Eastern Conference teams. Until then, we'll see you next time. See ya.